Hey folks, Brendan here from Bluelight. Now, what if I was to tell you that we're going to see the end of police recruitment in 2023? If you're in the police recruitment process or you're thinking about joining the police, this video is for you because it's got some news that you might not want to hear, but it's the reality of what I'm predicting for the rest of this financial year and the next year. But also at the end of the video, I've got some news for you which I think you'll want to hear because it's an uplifting one, no pun intended. Why no pun intended? Because we're almost at the end of the financial year for 2023. It finishes at the end of March. This is when the uplift, the 20,000 uplift finishes. 3 years ago, Boris Johnson announced that the government was going to recruit an additional 20,000 police officers. I know they weren't additional, they were just replacing, well, not even replacing, partially replacing the 21,000 that were lost over the previous 10 years. But good news anyway. That's over and above the numbers that would be recruited anyway. So by my best guesstimate back then, and this, I still predict this, that's about 48,000 police officers being recruited over a 3-year period. This is coming to an end. A lot of police forces have already got to the point where they've filled every seat. Some forces haven't. Sir Mark Rowley from the Metropolitan Police has already indicated that it is unlikely that they will hit their target, and how he is looking to speak to the Home Secretary about extending that period. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, because this money will have been assigned to a particular financial year, and government works on financial years. Once you're in the police, you'll get used to March Madness. This is where, even though the service might be under hard times, if there's any money left in this financial year's budget, it has to be spent. Otherwise, you don't get that money back the next year. I've always thought it a little irresponsible, actually, because this is public money, but March Madness actually is a thing. But with the uplift, that's not happening. The uplift, by the way, is 18.5 billion. That's not million, that's billion with a B, bravo. 18.5 billion pounds of funding for the police service. So it's a really, really massive chunk of funding. So no force can afford not to fill those spaces. Now, most forces have filled those spaces, but there are some forces out there still who have not succeeded in filling their target. And I do believe for every seat that they don't fill, they have to give the Home Office £17,000. It's a lot of money if you tot it all up. So there's a lot of pressure on to hit the targets. So if you're in the police recruitment process at the moment and you're getting towards the end of that process, what you're finding, what you're going to find, and what you are finding at this moment in time, I know this because my clients tell me this, is they're getting really, really quick responses from the recruitment team. One of my clients this week passed their national sift on the Wednesday. On Thursday, they got invited to do the online assessment centre, which started the day after, actually today. And today they got informed that their final interview is on Tuesday. So it's all happening in the space of just 1 week. This is unprecedented. It's never happened before. The process is normally incredibly linear, and it might be a month or two in between each one of the stages. Now we're seeing everything packed into just 1 week. Now that might be a template for the future for the police service. I've always said that the police service takes far too long to recruit. But forces are doing this. Why are they doing it? Because they've got to get you with a warrant card in your pocket, your bum on the seat, by the end of March. If they don't, then that's it. They miss their target, they've got to pay the Home Office a penalty. If they do fill that seat, then they've got the officers that they want, and they get the massive amounts of funding that's going to help them through the next, I believe, 10 years of employing that police officer. So if you're applying now, there's no way you're going to be in an intake that starts in March. I mean, it's mid-January now, mid-January 2023. It's just not going to happen. You can't get through all the stages, no matter how fast they try and fast track you. It just won't happen because you've got vetting to go through as well. And at the moment, there seems to be a vetting backlog. I know in Greater Manchester Police, there's people who submitted their vetting forms in October last year, in September last year, I know of one individual, I believe it's Lancashire Police, now I'm going to state it for a fact, it is Lancashire Police. They submitted their vetting forms last summer and they still haven't been told whether they've been successful or not. So vetting gets in the way. There's also medical and fitness. There's a whole load of stages that you need to go through. So no one who applies now is going to get through by the end of March. So what's next year going to look like? Well, this is the bad news. This is the bad news. Now, it may be the case that the 20,000 uplift gets extended, in which case it gives forces a bit of breathing space to fill those places, because at the moment, last time I heard, just before Christmas, only 15,000 of those 20,000 places had been filled. That's an incredible amount of pressure on the police service to recruit 5,000 over and above what they'd normally recruit in just a few months. So I don't think they're going to hit that 20,000 target. My prediction is that the Police and Crime Commissioners, Sir Mark Rowley and other Chief Constables, will put pressure on the Home Office to say that you gave us a massive undertaking, which would have been massive and huge in normal times, but then we had COVID. Because when this announcement was made, COVID hadn't started. We didn't even know there's such a thing as COVID. So I think what will probably happen is, because of the the difficult circumstances, easy for me to say, because of the difficult circumstances over COVID, we're going to extend that period by 6 months. I think that's what we're going to see, 4 months, maybe 3 months, who knows, but just enough time to fill those additional places. After that, it's going to be interesting, folks. I saw this play out. Listen, this is like history repeating itself. 12 years ago, this started, and forces started closing down recruitment. Why? Because of headlines like this. North Yorkshire Police, we've got £8 million to find that we've not got. Police Scotland, Chief Constable there, hard choices lie ahead to deliver effective policing. We've got significantly lower budget than that is needed. Merseyside Police, the Chief Constable there, retaining police officers and staff numbers while seeking to find almost 14 million in savings will be increasingly difficult. West Midlands Police need to save 30 million. Greater Manchester Police, the mayor there talking about a real risk to our police service in terms of the budget. These aren't quotes from 12 years ago, although we did have quotes like that 12 years ago. These are quotes from this month and just before Christmas. That's what 23 and 24, the financial year, is looking like. It's looking tight, folks. So what happened back in when austerity first started, which is what we're going to see again, the country's likely to go into recession. We're going to see higher taxes. We're going to see lower public sector budgets. Chancellor's already announced this. The exact numbers we don't know yet, but the numbers are going to be less than they were, significantly less than they were before. He's already told us that. And also, I think the police are going to be the poorer cousin at this moment in time. Would you really want to attack education and health in terms of the budgets as much as the police? The police have just had 18.5 billion. Why do they need to have a bigger slice of the cake? I can see that argument being put forward. So what happened 12 years ago? This is what I think is going to happen again. I think what's going to happen is forces might put a halt on recruitment. Some forces have already told their candidates that you've been successful. It's likely, Derbyshire have done this, have told some of their candidates, your likely start date will be in 2024. So they're already planning on having a break in terms of recruitment. GMP have just stopped recruiting. Interestingly, they put a tweet out there to say, welcome to the latest 115 officers joining the police. Nice photograph, it looked great. And at the bottom of the tweet, come and join us. Click on the link if you're looking for a career in policing. You click on the link and it takes you to their website that says, our recruitment window is closed. Our recruitment window is closed. Come on, GMP, you're my old force, pull your socks up. But they've stopped recruiting. And I think this is going to happen more and more and more, so that forces can sort of take a step back and think, right, what's our budget looking like? Where are we going to put our money? Can we afford additional officers? Can we afford to recruit any more officers? So what that looks like, how that pans out, that pans out as either lower numbers in the intakes, or intakes that are spread further out across the year, or taking a complete break. Some forces took a break of 2 or 3 years and didn't recruit. My old force, Greater Manchester Police, recruited just 40 a year. That's 40 a year, that was it. And they recruited from the ranks of PCSOs and specials. Metropolitan Police did something similar. They only recruited from their special constabulary detention officers and PCSOs. So recruiting internally, you keep your expertise, you keep some of your social capital, if you like, the capital within your force, the humans, the individuals that make up your force. You're still keeping hold of them, you're not losing them. So that might happen. Forces will still need to recruit, and that's the good news, folks. Forces will still need to recruit because people are always leaving, people are always retiring or resigning, and at this moment in time, what we're seeing also is a little bit of a crisis in retention. There's always been a healthy churn, a healthy dropout rate in the first 2 years. As long as I can remember, it's probably been around 10%, maybe a little bit more. People dropping out, it's just not for them. They give it a go. It's not for everyone being a police officer, and I think it's very brave of individuals to recognise that, or just think, actually I want to do something else. I'm in my early 20s, I've got my whole life ahead of me, I've done that for 2 years, I want to do something else now. So we're always going to see people leaving early in their service, but we're seeing more and more and more at the moment. By my best guesstimate, it's about 1 in 5 are leaving in their first 3 years. Now that's not that healthy, so you need to be absolutely completely fully aware of what you're going into. But that's the good news, almost, that if there's people leaving and there's a bit of a retention issue, it means that forces are going to have to replace those officers because they can't drop below a certain minimum number. So that's the good news. The good news. The numbers won't be anything like they are now. I mean, before the 20,000 uplift, which was about 15 to 17,000 a year, the numbers recruited would be around 7 to 8,000 a year. That was about it. That's nationally in England and Wales. I'm not accounting for police service in Northern Ireland or Scotland. Just in England and Wales, about 7 or 8,000 every year, just to replace officers that are leaving. I can see that dropping to around 3 or 4,000, just whilst the budgets take time to steady, and whilst forces steady the ship in terms of any budget cuts that they've got to make. Which means forces will still recruit. So what do you need to do to make sure that you're going to be one of those 3 or 4,000? And bear in mind, these are just my predictions, but they've always come true before. So I don't see any reason why these predictions aren't going to come true now. You need to get the highest marks. Forces will start to raise the bar. This is what they did during austerity. Cambridgeshire Police at one point had a pass mark for not the online assessment centre, the national assessment centre, of 68%. The pass mark nationally was 50%. They set their pass mark at 68%. So you didn't go through to their final interview unless you got 68%. How do I know that? Because one of my clients got 65, 66%, and another client got 68%, and they went through. So it was either 67 or 68, but let's call it 68. Anyway, it's small numbers, but it's still a really, really high mark you had to get. A lot of other forces, GMP did this, Devon and Cornwall did this, several other forces. They raised the pass mark at the assessment centre to 60% from 50%. So they screened a lot more people out by requiring higher marks. Other forces put people in talent pools. And so many forces had talent pools. You could sit in a talent pool for years. I had clients sitting in a talent pool for Humberside for up to 2.5 years. One of them actually came back and said they could have got a degree in that amount of time. It took them almost 3 years to join. They could have got a degree in that amount of time. So we might see that as well, talent pools, where you sit in a talent pool and you only get taken out of it if you're one of the high scoring candidates. The highest scoring candidates will get taken out of the talent pool first. So you need to have that high score, folks. You need to have that high score. How are you going to guarantee that? Well, check the links below for my Facebook group. All the support you need is in there. Almost 23,000 people who are either police officers or looking to join the police. I can't keep up with the number of posts. There's something like 40 posts every day. It's just incredible. So come and join that group. And if you really want to nail it, come and join my courses, especially the webinars, the weekly webinars where we practice for the online assessment centre, we practice for the interviews, we practice so that we are excellent on the day. We are aiming for scores of 90+%. We are aiming for feedback on your interview of that was an excellent interview. We'll normally email you, and we will email you, but I can tell you now you've passed. That's what we're aiming for, and that's what we consistently get. How? Because I've been doing this now for 27 years, and I've been in the police sector for 37 years. I was a police officer for 28 of those years, and I still work in the police sector. I know my stuff. I know it so much that I guarantee that you'll pass. If you do the work I've asked you to do and you still don't pass, I'll give you a refund. That's how convinced I am I can serve you, to help you, to get you to achieve, get that warrant card in your pocket. So folks, there you go. A longer video than I thought it was going to be, but there was a lot of ground to cover there. I hope you found it useful. Please do subscribe and like this video. It makes all the difference. I'd be so grateful if you could do that. I'll catch you with you next one, folks. Bye-bye for now.